Alright, welcome to another lesson. This one is on 3.7 and 3.8. So 3.7 is all about equations of lines in the coordinate plane. This should all be review. That is our goal. Let's make it all review. So, we have four types of slopes. You know what a slope is. It's the rise over the run. It's the change of y over the change of x. If you've never seen that, it's right here. Hopefully it was in algebra. But as we go over, how much are we going up? That's the question. And slope, when completely simplified, answers the question, when I go over 1, how much am I going up or down? When I go over 1, how much am I going up or down? That's what the slope should be. So it's going to be rise over run. So put your y's on top, your x's on bottom. We have four types of slopes. We have a positive slope. This only makes sense if you understand that slope means we're moving to the right. As I move to the right, am I going up or down? I'm going up, so that's positive. Down, so that's negative. Here, as I move to the right, nothing happens, so it's a zero slope. My slope is 0. As I move to the right, I don't go up or down, I go up 0. This one, as I move to the right, what happens? Oops, I lose the line. I will never ever find the line because it's going straight up and down. We call that an undefined slope because it disappears once we move to the right or left at all. So straight up and down is undefined. That does not count. That is not a function. Find the slope of the line in each graph. I encourage you to pause it, use the slope formula and those 2 points used or given to you on the graph and see if you can find it. Alright, so with the first one, we're moving from right to left, or left to right, remember we're moving right. So I go over 2, up 1, so that's rise over run. Well, that was simple. That doesn't need to be simplified. This one, over, oops, I lose the line. Undefined. If it's straight up and down, it's undefined. This one, over 1, up 0. Rise over run. 0 slope. This one, over 2, down 4. So that's negative 2. You could also see this one right here as over 1, down 2. That is how we get slope. As we move to the right 1, what happens to our change in elevation? So over 1, down 2 would also work on that graph. Slope-intercept form is just your standard y equals mx plus b format. Notice that the slope always goes next to the x variable because what we're saying there is as we increase x by 1, or in other words, as we move to the right by 1, what happens to our elevation? How much does it move up or down? So slope has to be next to the x. And the plus b, that is our y-intercept because when x is 0, that mx gets washed away. We just have y equals b, which is our y-intercept. When x is 0, what is y? That is our y-intercept. So y equals mx plus b is our slope-intercept form. Point-slope form is something we use when we're given a point and we're given a slope. We can find the equation by plugging in our x value, our y value, and our slope, simplify it, solve for y, and get our equation. So that's how that one works. That's how that one is useful. I encourage you to do 5 and 6 right now and see how you can do. Alright, so first of all I notice that my b value is 1. That means my y-intercept is 1. Now my slope is 6/5. That means I rise 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Imagine that number 7 there. Run 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a point. Now because that's off the graph, I get a little nervous, so let's go backwards. I go back 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fall 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is the same as going up and right. We go down and left. And now I have 3 points, which helps me make a little bit more of a straight line. That right there is the graph of the equation y equals 6/5 x plus 1. That line should have been straight. Alright, this one is in point-slope form. It's difficult to graph out of point-slope form. So let's solve for it. We have y minus 2 equals negative 1/3 x. Negative 1/3 times negative 4 is positive 4/3. And now I just have to add the 2, so y equals negative 1/3 x. Add 2, so that's add 6/3, and I get 10/3. So 10/3 is my y-intercept. 1, 2, 3. 9/3 would be 3. So it's just right there. That is 10/3, and I go run 3, 1, 2, 3, down 1. So that's it. 1, 2, 3, down 1. And I can make my line from those points. It only takes 2 points, as you know. 2 points form a specific line. But 3 points helps me graph it a little easier because I don't have a straight edge on the board. Alright, you can write equations of lines when you know the slope and at least 1 point on the line. So it gives us the slope and it gives us the y-intercept, which is that 1 point on the line that the explanation just described. So the equation of the line is simply y equals mx plus b. So our m, negative 1/2, and our b is 2. That's how that works. Y equals mx plus b. That is our equation for that line. What's the equation of the line through negative 1, 4 with slope of negative 3? This is where point slope formula comes in handy, and there's also an mx plus b way of solving this, which you may have seen, so I'll solve that way also. Y minus y, or I'll write the formula up first so you can see where these are coming from. Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. Alright, so y stays y, y1 is 4, m is negative 3, x minus negative 1. So y minus 4 equals negative 3x, and that's negative 3 times positive 1, negative 3. So I solve for y equals negative 3x plus 1. Alright, now let's solve in a different way using the mx plus b formula and see if we get the same answer. This way is not as convenient as you'll see in a second, but it is good sometimes. So y equals m x plus, now we don't know our b, we're going to find that. 4 equals 3 plus b, so b equals 1. Alright, so I know my slope is negative 3, so y equals negative 3, x plus 1. We don't get the equation directly from it, but we get our b value from it, and we can just plug that in. So 1 equals b. The board's not so calibrated there. Alright, so we have the same equation solving it 2 different ways. What is the equation of the line that goes through the points negative 2, 5, and 4, negative 4? So we have 2 points to choose from here with our point slope formula, but we don't have a slope. So what we need to do is find the change of y, and I chose to go with this one minus this one, so I have to do this one minus this one now on bottom. You have to have your order correct. If you solved it doing it the other way, you'll still get the same answer. And we get, oops, I messed up there. 5 minus negative 4, there we go, is negative 3/2. That's our slope. So, now we have a point to choose from. I'm just going to conveniently choose the first one, and I like the point slope formula. For me, it works better. So y minus 5 equals negative 3/2 x. Positive 2 times negative 3/2 is negative 6/2, which is 3. I'll just remember that for next step. So y equals negative 3/2 x. 5 plus negative 3 is 2. So that is the equation of that, or the line going through those 2 points. I found the slope using the 2 points with the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I got negative 3/2. I plug that in, do point slope formula. You could have used 4 and negative 4 and gotten the same exact answer. Alright, horizontal and vertical lines. This is a little tricky, but the math is super simple. Horizontal, vertical. So if you're having trouble seeing this, the point 1, 7 is right here. What is the horizontal line going through that point? Well, what's our y value always? Our y value is always 7. What is the slope of our vertical line going through that point? Well, my y value is not always a certain number, but my x value is always... Oh, my screen turned off for a second. My x value is always 1. So that's the equation. Vertical lines are always x equals. Horizontal lines are always y equals, because horizontal lines always have a constant y value and vertical lines always have a constant x value. 3.8. If two non-vertical lines are parallel, then their slopes are equal. Two parallel lines have equal slopes. That's all that says. If the slopes are equal, then the lines are parallel, and any two vertical lines or any two horizontal lines are parallel. So line AB contains points -13, 6 and -1/2, or -1, 2, sorry. Line CD contains points 6, 7 and 3, 6. Are they parallel? Well, looking at these two bullets right here, we know that if they have the same slopes, then they're parallel. So let's just do some quick math. Y minus y corresponding x minus corresponding x equals -1/3. Let's do this, the second set of points now. Y minus y corresponding x minus x, +1/3. Well, they're not the same slope. They're the same number, but they're opposites of each other. So they have opposite values. They're going opposite directions. They are not parallel. And you might be thinking, oh, they're perpendicular. But that's actually not true either. This one would have had to be 3 if they were perpendicular. But it's not 3, so they're just nothing. They're just opposite slopes. They are not parallel. What is the equation of the line parallel to y equals -x minus 7 that contains -5, 3? Well, parallel means same slope. The only thing you're going to take from this equation is its slope. That slope is -1. Now I know the point slope formula. Y minus 3 equals -1 x minus -5. So it has the same slope, but is going through that point now. So y minus 3 equals -x minus 5. Y equals -x minus 2. All right. And finally, perpendicular. If two non-vertical lines are perpendicular, then the product of their slopes is -1. So you can check to see if two slopes are perpendicular by multiplying their two slopes. And if you get -1 as your product, then it's perpendicular. All I want you to remember is opposite reciprocal. Reciprocal means flipping the fraction. Opposite means negative. Alright, line EF contains the points 2, 7 and 3, -1. Alright, well let's find the slope of that, because we're going to see if the next 2 points have a slope that's parallel or perpendicular. 7 minus -1, 2 minus 3. You could have done -1 minus 7 and 3 minus 2 if you haven't caught on to that yet. That's 8 over -1, so that's -8. This one over here, we have 7 minus 6 and 8 minus -2, which is 1/10. That's not even opposite reciprocal. If this 10 was an 8, then they would be good. They would be perpendicular, because it would be opposite, because this is positive, and flip the 8 to get 1/8. But it's not an 8, so it's not perpendicular. It is nothing. Alright, what is the equation of a line perpendicular to y equals -3x minus 5 that contains -3, 7? Well, all we care about in perpendicular is the slope. So, what is the reciprocal, or opposite reciprocal of -3? Opposite meaning positive, flip it 1/3. So our new slope is 1/3. So y minus 7 equals 1/3 x minus -3. Y minus 7 equals 1/3 x plus 1. And then you add 7 to it. Y equals 1/3 x plus That is the answer. So hopefully all of that made sense for you, and your homework will be worksheets that you got today in class, or whenever you're listening to this last class. So that is what you'll do for homework. But what to focus on today: parallel means same slope, perpendicular means opposite reciprocal slope. And perpendicular, if you haven't ever learned what that means on a graph, if I have a line that's doing this, perpendicular is such that it makes a 90-degree angle. That's what perpendicular means. It creates a right angle. We can make sure two lines have a right angle at their intersection by making their slopes perpendicular to each other. That is the goal of that section. The first section is getting you to understand how equations work. So hopefully all of that made sense. Make sure you take good notes, and I'll see you in class.